Hey there YouTube, welcome to Artichoke Dip. My name is Rob, solo RPG and board game tabletop gamer. And so in my video I'm going to do some shout outs, talk about some comments before I start my video. And of course, I'm always going to put my disclaimer out there about, well, endorsing. Nobody endorses me and I do not endorse anybody. So my own hard-earned money, and I can tell you what I think about a game product. Second thing is, if you liked the video, please like. And if you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video. So, I put my video out yesterday, and I asked you guys to do some comments, and you did, and I'm going to do some shout outs here and answer some questions. Figured this would be better than sitting here and typing these things out, and just basically call you guys out and at that point give you my answers. Alright, Mall XX or Mall XX. I'd say drop Facebook, and that would free up that time, but that's easy for me to say since I shut down my Facebook last year. I wasn't an active user of it anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Thank you for your videos, Rob. They have helped propel me from interest in the hobby to more knowledgeable about it. I'm still in the early stages, but I'm on my way. Well, Maul, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you for the comment. Game on, my friend, and I'm so glad that you get useful information out of my channel. Thank you very much. So, the next one, comment here, I'm sorry if I slaughter your name, and it is UG Lonely83. Why don't you upload your solo scripts onto RPG Now or Drive-Thru as a pay what you want file, ? Well, here's the thing, I just started writing it, and to take my time with it and see where it goes. I mean, maybe when I get done with it, maybe I may want to keep it for myself, being self-conscious about what the world may say about it, or maybe I will do that. I guess once I get closer to that stage of it, I'll let you guys know. But until now, it's basically an R&D, research and development phase. Jason Kemp commented, and this isn't from the video I did yesterday. This is from my Table Talk video that I did a few video episodes back. And he says, you mentioned you have your own Oracle tables, etc. Would you consider making a short video showing them off and talk about how you use them, ? I would love to see examples of how you created the non-gaming system specific tables that help you create and run your solo adventures. Well, Jason, I could do a video on that. If there's something that, give me a little clarity on, particular tables that may help you out with your solo RPG, leave a comment and maybe I could do a video focusing on that. Or if you're just asking for basically a general overview of how I do my tables with a solo RPG, I could do that as well. So let me know, give me a little bit more clarification. I get on the Oracle tables, etc. And as far as the tables go, and the randomized tables, wilderness, dungeon, story background, just elaborate a little bit more on that. Give it a, think about it for a little bit and let me know. Alright. So the next comment I have here is Castle Dawn. Great content, man. Keep up the good work. It's nice to see how passionate you are about your hobby. Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words. And yeah, I mean, I love my hobby. I really do. I love gaming. It's been something I've been doing since I was 11 years old. and it's just something that has carried over and followed me all the way into my adult life, and I really do enjoy it. Thank you very much. Okay, so the Solo Wargaming Show commented, Kevin Crawford is a fellow Michigander. Oh, okay, cool. There's many other places you can live in a country that are warmer, but, okay, unless you're like the rest of us, you're stuck here. His last Kickstarter raised $100,000, but I'm sure he appreciates your recommendation. Okay, well, like I said in my disclaimer, Kevin Crawford didn't, whisper in my ear, hey, could you put this on your channel and give it a good review? Well, basically, like I said, how I found this book and ordered it off of Amazon, and I paid my money for it. So, I'm going through this book, and really, what I use mainly out of it are the tables in the back, because, hell, they're good tables. I like the tables. As far as this game and the way that this is set up, it's basic D&D to me is what it is, and it's just a different approach to solo D&D than basically the way that I do it. So, but anyways, I don't want to get too far off subject there. Hey, he put it out there, he made money off of it, good for him. I'm sure most of us out there that enjoy hobbying would wish that we could have success with that and do the same. So if he put forth the hard work and the effort in order to create this and sell as many, I'm sure he paid quite a bit in marketing, and there's probably a lot more money involved in what a lot of people think with coming up with an idea, but then having something like this, presenting it in the market for people to at that point pick up and look at to buy or click and have it delivered to them. So, with that said, I appreciate the comment there, Solo Wargamer and Solo Wargaming Show, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was a fellow Michigander. And, heck, pretty cool. Maybe he's like me. Maybe he's, solo enthusiast too. I have no idea. All I do know is, and I'm going to get into towards the end of the video about the book and why I did the review the way I did to explain it to you a little bit more. But for that right now, I'm going to leave it at that, and thank you so much, sir. So the next comment I come to is Jedi Ninja Knight. I see my characters as part of the world I've created. Thanks for the video. You are very welcome. And I do as well. Steve Thomas writes, for me, the character would be part of the world. So if the character dies, the world would continue. I 100% agree. When I was thinking about it, and when I first started out gaming, I should say, and solo gaming, because basically there was nobody else there to game with me, I would follow along through here, character creation, go through. I played, your first adventure, and I loved it, and played it, and then tried to emulate that, and it took me a long time to figure out that I can't create the character and expect to have a world to adventure in. I have to create the world, then the character. Okay, Symbolist Beachhold. I hope I pronounced your name there correctly. Happy New Year. Nice to see a new video. Well, Happy New Year to you, sir. And I hope it's going to be a great one for you this year. Okay, the next next comment I come to in my video is from YouTube subscription account. And it says, Artichoke Dip, hello, Happy New Year, and good gaming. Thank you very much, sir. Happy New Year to you as well. So the last comment I'm going to get to here is from M. And I'm not calling this guy out. I just want to clarify some of the things in his comment so there's no confusion. So, first and foremost, when I picked this up and I went through it, and I do use these tables. I've been using these tables a lot and loving them in the back for my RPGs. Now, did at that point I read through the combat section? Yeah, I did. I went through, I read about the fray, and just decided, this is just a different way of solo RPGing compared to the way that I like to do it, and I have been doing it. Now, some of the things, I'll be honest with you, that I just particularly really do not care for about the book is, it's got this overtone of ancient Asian culture to it. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm fascinated and interested by ancient European, medieval history, and I guess that's why I love D&D so much, because, it's really, even though it's a fantasy setting, is focused around medieval fantasy times and not so much Oriental. Not saying that that's a bad thing, and I'm not, trying to be a downer in any way. I just don't like it. I mean, there's been a few movies I've seen that I've enjoyed that were based in ancient Orient and had some really cool battle scenes. But as far as seeking out to game in that or pursue that, it just never, ever, ever really struck a chord with me at all. And, that old saying, to each their own. So, that in itself, as I thumb through the book, looking at some of these images, I'm just kind of like, I'm just not really into that whole entire thing. And like I said, not saying it is a bad thing, but as I went through the book and I looked this over, I had found myself coming back to these awesome tables in the back. And the fact that these tables can be used for your tabletop RPG, and how it outlines solo gaming, which is really cool, particularly for people just getting into gaming, which will help them a lot. So that was the thing that I saw in this book that I really enjoyed. So I'm going to continue on with the comment here. I think you're selling Scarlet Heroes a bit short, despite the praise you have for it. Probably because you aren't into D&D. Well, that's where I'm going to stop you, sir. I am really into D&D. Really, really, really. We're talking over the years. My gosh. I'm gonna have to say thousands. The amount of money that I have spent on my gaming hobby over my lifetime so far, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't put a dollar amount on it, and it's not about dollar amount. And going on with this comment, and like I said, I'm not calling this man out or putting him in a bad light. That's not my intention here. I just want to get something straight here. I think you're selling Scarlet Heroes a bit short despite the praise you have for it, probably because you aren't into D&D as much and missed out in its history. Okay, so my history with D&D is when I was 11 years old, and my father took me to the local bookstore. And this bookstore isn't like what we have today, large chains. This is an old mom and pop owned bookstore. And in the very back of their bookstore, where they put the stuff that, well, wasn't their best sellers, and it wasn't stuff they really, how do I put this, advertised as much, where they kept their clearance items, basically. They had a small, at that point, I'm going to say advertisement cardboard thing with Dungeons and Dragons on it, and it had these box sets in there. Now, I no longer have the box. The cardboard box has fallen apart, as well as the other ones over the years. But this is where it started out. When I was 11 years old, my father bought me the first set. And my parents loved to live out in the middle of the sticks without any neighbors. I spent most of my life growing up with the closest neighbor being elderly people and nobody else around me my age. So I had to rely on my imagination a lot to keep me entertained. And as this progressed, you know, at that point, so did I with it. And I'm not just sitting here. This is where I'm a bit confused about the comment. And, I mean, man, I could sit here and probably pull out all kinds of D&D stuff and talk to you about it most of the night, but I'm not. And yeah, I'm really into D&D. I love D&D. And that, at that point, I think it's a misconception on your part, sir. And there are all different editions of D&D out there. So that's, you know, if somebody who just has gotten into the hobby that likes 5th edition D&D and they love 5th edition D&D and they're just head over heels for it. And I'm going to use this as an example, and if you're to say, well, you're not really into D&D, well, how do you judge how a person's into something or not? I'm really, really into D&D. And it just kind of blew me back looking at this. I'm like, what do you mean you aren't into D&D as much and missed out on its history? The history, I mean, what part of the history are you talking about? Because, you know, when Advanced Dungeons and Dragons came out and Gygax moved forward with, well, let's pull out the original, manual here. Well, here we go. Pull out the DM's manual. So, when Gygax moved forward with the original Dungeon Master guide and the player's guide, and at that point, the monster manual that were broken up into 3 main core rule books, Arneson, well, sued. And at that point, you know, the settlement was that TSR had to keep, at that point, publishing Dungeons and Dragons, even though TSR considered it obsolete at that point because they had come up with new, more streamlined rules. And, well, as basically the lawsuit went, they kept publishing these despite the overwhelming popularity of these. So, as far as the history, what part of the history are you talking about there? The bare bones of combat system come from a little feeble product Crawford put out called Solo Heroes, which was some tweaks to old school D&D designed to let you run a single character through a published D&D module without having to change any stats. Just use the monsters as listed. Hell, use the PC's stats as listed. The only real changes are how you would read damage dice and an emergency saving throw for dealing with situations in the adventure that would require multiple characters or something your character simply doesn't have because they are alone, like divine magic or whatever. Basically, monsters take damage in hit dice and deal it in hit points. You roll the standard weapon damage die because it was meant to be as straightforward as possible, but instead of taking the result as rolled, it does 1, 2, or 4 damage to the enemy. There's also the fray die, representing your ability to also handle hordes of weak, minor threats by just straight up doing some bonus damage without having to use an attack, so you don't get overwhelmed by numbers meant for a full party. Or you could always, at that point, just adjust the encounters to whatever you're playing and how many characters you're using. I mean, you had said the solo, basically one character, so we'll leave it at that. Scarlet Heroes expands massively and wonderfully on this, and also adds in the Red Tide setting he previously released for Labyrinth Lord. Basically, basic D&D. But it should still basically be able to run a published adventure with no need for fiddling with stats or spending half an hour converting things, just using the monsters exactly as written, and that's really handy. What I guess I am saying is that it's a great resource if you aren't particularly into D&D, but if you are, it's 100% pure gold. I agree with you 100%, sir. Now, I want to touch on the Labyrinth Lord. Basically, basic D&D. No, basically, it is basic D&D. So, I have Labyrinth Lord here. And so, when basically Wizards of the Coast, and you may or may not know this, bought TSR. And, you know, that little logo of TSR went bye-bye and is now Wizards of the Coast. And it came out with the 3rd edition. They did what was called open game licensing. If you're not familiar what that is, basically, to put it in a nutshell, you can design any game that you want using the likelihood of basically stats, gaming mechanics, encounters, character sheets, so on and so forth. And as long as it's compatible meaning that you can take the original player's manual at that point, and this can be played with this as written. Go ahead, you're okay. So, and they continue that on. 3rd edition, 3.5, 4th edition, and they changed, I can't remember what they called it in 4th edition. I would have to look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they changed it from open game licensing to they tweaked some of the rules on it. 5th edition, they went back to open game licensing. So let's go into open game licensing here, and let's just read a little bit of this right here. I don't mean to bore you guys, just so, hey, we are all in the know here. So Labyrinth Lord is not new or innovative. The game exists solely as an attempt to help breathe back life into old school fantasy gaming, to do some small part in expanding its fan base. Labyrinth Lord follows in the footsteps of other retro clone game systems, or might think of it as an emulator, meant to employ game rules algorithms from early 1980s games by using new presentation in combination with terms that are open game content provided under the Open Game Licensing version 1.0A by Wizards of the Coast, Incorporated. So, basically, the setup of this for basic D&D is what it is. And these books are very old, and as you can see, I've had them for quite a long time, and they're coming apart. I keep them in plastic. I bought these to replace those when I want to play some old basic D&D. And it's the reason why I have them. And, okay, I have to admit, the layout of this book flows much simpler. It's easier to create a character, simple to go through, pick up, and move on. But, you know, the fact is, it is basic D&D. Is all this is right here. And open game licensing. I don't need to say any more about that. I think I've beaten that into the ground enough. Basically, it's not basic D&D. Basically, it is basic D&D. It's just been taken a few, how do I put this, changing a definition of words, the way that they've laid stuff out, and taken it and basically published it, put a new name on it called Labyrinth Lord. You know, say, hey, we basically, made this to where you can play this with this. The problem is, this isn't in publication anymore, but you can still do it. And that's the cool thing about open game licensing and what Wizards of the Coast did with the products. Allowing more and more products out in the market for people to be able to expand on, create, and deliver to us who enjoy to play them. So, yeah, classic old school fantasy role-playing is back. This game is fully compatible with familiar basic edition games. Familiar basic edition games. Basic edition. I wonder what they mean by basic edition. It must be basic edition. So that's what essentially it is. And then, of course, I picked up this one afterwards. I played the hell out of this one and loved it. And the reason why is this one, well, you guessed it, is basically this advanced D&D in here. And the way that they changed the lingo, you know, let's take a quick look here as they call it the Advanced Edition Companion. Player and referee guide of Advanced Edition options for Labyrinth Lord. Advance the game. Advanced. 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 Anyways, so I just wanted to get that out there, and basically it just kind of took me back when I read this comment, and it said, despite your praise for it, probably because you aren't into D&D as much and missed out in its history. No, sir. I love D&D. I didn't miss out on the history. But the one thing I can admit about D&D is D&D does get old after a while. I love D&D. I love the setup in D&D. It's a cookie cutout system. It's, you know, compared to other RPGs out there, it is like, it's the most popular tabletop role-playing game in the world. It's one of the easiest to learn. But there are other RPG systems out there that offer way, how do I put this, more options and some concepts that D&D just does not have to offer. And so maybe I don't talk about D&D every single video outlining D&D, 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 D&D. Well, that's because, you know, the cool thing about this channel is meeting other people and getting their different mindsets on different role-playing games and suggestions that I have taken and I've invested money in played, and I've some of these I found out, hey, I really love these systems. You know, there's some other systems out there, I have to admit, that have been suggested to me. And this came from a dear friend of mine, and it's called Gaslanes. I picked it up, I looked at it, and you take Hot Wheels and you take them apart and you remodel them and you basically, create a Mad Max scenario out of these things, and it goes through how to, at that point, template tracks and all this kind of stuff. I picked the game book up, I looked through it, and once it got to the point of basically, altering, cars, basically, I just got to the point where I was just kind of like, no, this isn't me. First of all, I'm just not. I gave up on Matchbox cars a long time ago, and I don't foresee myself going out and collecting or purchasing them now in this stage of life. On top of that, with everything else that I have going on, that's a whole entire another area to set up in the house to be able to facilitate something like this. And just really didn't pique my interest that much. Not to say, I don't know, maybe in the future it won't, or maybe this is just going to sit here on the shelf. So, well, folks, I just wanted to, at that point, cover some of them comments, get out there, talk to you guys. Thank you guys so much, personally. And, so I think I'm gonna, at that point, leave video off here, so I can, spend a little bit of time playing, at that point, Fallout. I'm playing the expansion. I've gotten into it. Really cool. Really cool expansion. I have to admit, Vault 7, I loved it. I loved that with my character. I say character because it plays so much like an RPG game, but I mean mini here that I'm using. I'm representing this, my character, basically, but yeah, cool game. Really cool game, and I'm going to get back into that. So, folks, I think I'm going to end the video here. If you liked it, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click the bell icon, and when I upload a new video, you will be notified, and I look forward to more of your great comments. I look forward into hearing from you guys. And I have to say, despite M and your comment, like I said, I'm not calling M out here. That was not my intention. I just wanted to clear some things up that I thought maybe there was a misunderstanding about. And thank you so much for your lengthy comment. And trust me, I read it and I've taken it into consideration, and I read it several times. And I can see your perspective from it. I just hope you see my perspective as well. And in running this channel and finding stuff for new enthusiasts getting into the hobby. Maybe these are people that haven't played an RPG in 10 plus years or longer, or maybe have never picked an RPG book up in their life, and they want to, but they don't know where to start. If you think back to when we started out and we got those first books, we opened up that set, and if you got this set with the your polyhedral dice set and the wax crayon to color in, and the one piece of graph paper in your character sheet, at that point, how overwhelming that seemed to us at the time. But now we look at it and think basically how second nature it is to us today. And if you think of it at that perspective to the person now watching this, but unlike having one book back in the old days, which you had basically, you're just one source, now you have a complete internet with different, inundated with different channels of gaming and marketing and everything else, and asking yourself, where does that person begin? So the reason why I presented Scarlet Heroes the way that I did was, for the beginning solo RPGer that wants to get into solo RPG, looking to make a purchase that's not going to break their budget in buying 3, main core rule books like these, and then their polyhedral dice set, and then everything else that they have. They could buy one book, one dice set, and they could turn to the back of the book and read the book, and at that point give them a brief overview how to play the game. Also starting them out with some great tables to play with. So that's where I was coming from with Scarlet Heroes, and it's the reason why I gave it the review I did. Not for the fact that I am trying to endorse anybody or anything like that. I'm just looking at it through the perspective of the person just starting out in RPG. Where do they start? What's a good system? What if I buy something and I don't like it? How much money am I going to spend on this? So, taking all those things into consideration is why I gave Scarlet Heroes the rate that I did. For the reason. So, anyways, I'm going to end the video here, folks, and hope to hear from you in the future. And like I said, all of you guys that have gave me the comments, thank you very much. Mr. Mall XX, UG Lonely 83, Jason Kemp, Castle Dawn, Jedi Ninja Knight, The Solo Wargaming Show, Steve Thomas, Symbolist Betchold, Mr. M, and YouTube subscription account. Thank you so much, guys. And game on, my friends. Game on. Hope to hear from you in the future. Alright. Talk to you later.